Good afternoon. Welcome to the Finance Committee meeting, February 12th, 2026. I'm going to ask Commissioner Collins to say the blessing, and I'll lead us in the pledge. Commissioner Collins, if you'll remember those who are hurting, had some deaths and stuff like that. I appreciate it. Amen. Dan, salute, pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic, one nation, God. All right, thank you. I'll remind everyone to ensure that you use your microphone when you speak. For those who are joining us remotely and everyone here in the room, I want to welcome everybody here to the Finance Committee. Looking at our agenda, we're going to get to the agenda items here in a second, but before we do there, Mayor Davis, your report, you are recognized.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The only report I have is your credit card report that you ask for each month. Fire department only used it once. It was locally, but it was for a justifiable purpose. Assessor used it once, all good. Sheriff used once, all good. The mayor did not use it, all good. EMA 4 times, all good. And juvenile 1 time, all good. And EMS used it 8 times, but all good. When I say all good, that means they meet all the criteria that you requested. Want me to, I can go through them individually, but that's all I have unless you have questions.
Any questions for Mayor? Mayor, I have just one. It came up this morning, so I didn't get a chance to talk to you. On the opioid money that was approved at the end of last year, I believe some of the participants are still waiting, and I saw just before I got here, literally like 10 minutes, that the contracts are still in work or something like that. But one of them, Bradley Prevention, they're getting to the point where they have budgeted.
Talk about the coalition.
Yeah. So anyway, anything you can do to help on that, I'd appreciate it. I'm sure they will as well.
That's the first I've heard, but it may be waiting on Crystal to finish the
My
contract.
disclosure is I don't know. I found out this morning, and Kayla was nice enough to give us an update just before we got here. So anyway, I just want to bring that to your attention. I appreciate it.
She has to get us contracts on all of them, and then they have to request it.
Yeah.
And one of those things has not occurred, obviously.
Okay. So that's any other questions for the mayor?
I don't have a question, just a comment. We were a minute or two late in getting our meeting started today. You had a special group with you. You may want to comment on that group. I got to walk in and interrupt, and I enjoyed your presentation with the group. And
There's Leadership Cleveland, you know, that comes every year along with the adult leadership. This was the youth leadership group, and they were surprisingly pretty much on it. First of all, they gave me a list of questions. We got some of them done, but some of them I ignored and wanted them to ask them, and they asked them. They were pretty much on top of it. They knew what was going on. I usually find that the youth leadership group knows more than the adult leadership group, and this group definitely did. But this is the day where they're visiting different parts of county government. They were late, which caused us to be late for your all's meeting, but I accused them. I said, you get stuck at the jail. One of the jail, he's always wanting new locks. Did one of them not work and let you out? And they said, no, we've been down at the landfill, circling the landfill.
Oh,
So
wonderful.
I said, well, that's another one of those things that we have to provide that cities don't have to provide. But I'm glad you've been there. I don't have to talk about the landfill. So, yeah, it was a good group. Appreciate it.
Yeah, that's a good group. My oldest son did that a few years ago, and I think he had a good time, and this was a good time for him. They pretty soon, I don't know the schedule, they will go to Nashville and chat with them up there as well. All right, anything else? Seeing none. All right, back to our agenda. We'll go to the budget amendments. We have one that came in, not so much late, but we'll take that up. Hopefully everybody has a copy of it, a physical copy from the library. I'm sorry. It's on the computer, I guess. That was nice. We'll take that one out, then we'll hop over to the ones here. This is from the library, 100,000 coming from the fund balance. And she's moving it into 799, updated renovations. This is budgeted, so do I have a motion to accept the amendment as presented? I have a motion from Commissioner Alford. I have a second from Commissioner Collins. Any further discussion on the amendment? Mayor Davis?
I just to make sure you all understand, this is money that is collected for the library, so it's, you might say their money, but keep in mind, because we have had issues in the past, come July, August, September, they don't have enough fund balance, and we have to push them off until we collect enough to be able to make their quarterly or whatever they request payment. I don't think this will do that to us, but that's how we got here before, is so many of these were approved that then we had to start putting them off. And then you guys get calls saying, Mayor won't give me my quarterly payment. We can't until there's been money either collected into that account or there's enough fund balance left there to pay from. So, like I said, I don't remember their balance. Either one of you remember?
Yeah, it's good.
It's fairly hefty. Tri-State did the same thing a few months ago. So it's hefty and they're spending some of it, and that's a good thing, but just keep in mind if you do more that it will affect when we can give them their payment.
Yeah, I remember that very well. You do too. But we had them in a budget hearing and knew this was coming, so
Yeah,
we're
that's
good.
right.
But good call. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 5-0. Now we'll go over to here, first budget amendment. Let's scroll right here. All right, first budget amendment is from finance, 150,000. This, take note that we're in Fund 128, and that's art money. 150,000 coming out of 706. Oh, yeah, coming into 718. This is for the fire department. And Mayor, I'll let you elaborate on that as soon as we get a motion in a second. I have a motion to accept the amendment as presented. I have a motion from Commissioner Alford. I have a second from Commissioner Hughes. Any further discussion? Mayor, do you want to go over this one?
To refresh your memory on the Community Services Agency, you all approved $100,000 of ARP funds. That's contracted, so we have spent almost all of that. I think they've got another 40-something thousand left for them to request sometime in this, probably in February or March. You had also approved an additional $150,000 that was not in the buckets that we had to contract and send to the feds. It was in the discretionary budget or interest budget, one of them, bucket. Anyway, they went through the process of bidding twice to add on to the shelter, and they never could get good bids that we could afford. And I say they, the city. The city finally just pulled the project, and they now have it in their long-range plan. They're applying for grants to address the shelter down the road. And we agreed to go ahead and spend the rest of our $100,000 that we had committed, and we needed to because of the contract with the feds. And I told them at that time the other 150 would go away. It's not going to keep sitting there because we've got to spend this ARP this year. So this amendment is moving that 150 that is okay. We don't have to report to the feds, moving it to the fire department. And it's to take care of the most needed equipment, which we do every budget year, but we're taking care of some additional needed equipment. And this particular one is replacing 3 sets of what I would call the Jaws of Life, which is $150,000-ish. There's some other things happening with the money they already have budgeted, but this particular 150 would go toward that.
All right, and the Jaws of Life that they currently have, they're just going to continue using them at other stations, from what I understand.
Yeah, they will go to places that don't use as much. They still have them and they still work, but they are getting older. So this would replace 3 of them, 3 sets.
They're pretty cool. I got to use one of those Jaws of Life at the demonstration day that they popped the door open. Very good. So we have a motion and we have a second accepting the amendment as presented. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 5-0. Moving on to the next budget
Molly,
amendment.
I want to add one thing. You might be asking, why don't you just wait and do this at budget time? But these have to be ordered and they take months and months. So that's why I was asking for the amendment so we can get them ordered and they'll be here much sooner that way. So thank you.
And this doesn't close a PO or anything, right? I mean, you had to, because we got the report on the closed POs the other day. I was gonna get with you.
No, they were told they can get a PO after you all approve it today.
Okay, well. All right, next budget amendment, sticking with finance, 100,000 coming from the sheriff's account 54110, line 718 over to line 716. This is just a miskey. This is just a correction, right? I have a motion to accept the amendment from Commissioner Hughes. I have a second from Commissioner Alford. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 5-0. Chairman Cry is going to get a call. Sticking with finance, we are County Commission 5,000. This is for our a deductible on an insurance claim. Very good. Do I have a motion to accept the amendment as presented? I have a motion from Commissioner Slater. I have a second from Commissioner Alford. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 5-0. Moving on to the next budget amendment. And there you see the check. And if you have any questions about the lawsuit, get with Crystal, as always. Next one is also another lawsuit deductible. Do I have a motion to accept this amendment as presented? I have a motion from Commissioner Hughes. Excuse me. I have a second from Commissioner Collins. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 5-0. Moving on to the next budget amendment. There you see the documentation. Southeast Community Corrections. They are decreasing $2,000 out of account 54250 and moving it in the same account over to line 435 for office supplies. And this is also, is it a correction, Caleb?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. We have a motion to accept the amendment as presented. I have a motion from Commissioner Alford. I have a second from Commissioner Slater. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed say no. Passes 5-0. Moving on to the next budget amendment, sticking with Southeast Community Corrections. Tim, I actually put a name there. $10,000. He's decreasing. You see how he's itemizing it from the lines out of the account 54250, and he is moving it into, and he has that itemized as well. The math works out, so that's the main thing. Moving funds to properly match expenses to a more correct account. I assume this is the whole auditor thing. Wonderful.
You gotta love them.
No, I don't. Do I have a motion to accept the amendment as presented? I have a motion from Commissioner Slater. I have a second from Commissioner Hughes. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed say no. Passes 5-0. Well, they're on the roll. Southeast Community Corrections decreasing 30,000 from 399 of that same account, and he's itemized it over here where he is increasing his expenses. Do I have a motion to accept the amendment as presented? I have a motion from Commissioner Alford. I have a second from Commissioner Hughes. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed say no. Passes 5-0. Mayor?
Refresh your memory on Southeast Community Corrections. That's a state agency, a state program, not a Bradley County program, but we contract with the state to run their expenses and their payroll through the county. At budget time, they lump, a lot of it's what you all were talking about, but some of it is they lump money in lines to get the state money approved and to get their budget approved, and then later on in the budget year, they move it out into the appropriate lines. So some of it is that. We have no control over it as long as the state approves it. It's just a matter of formality for us, okay?
Thank you, Mayor. All right, moving on to the next budget amendment. And this is coming from Sessions Judge Clay Collins. He's decreasing expense by $400 and moving it in the same account from one line to another. Do I have a motion to accept the amendment as presented? I have a motion from Commissioner Slater. I have a second from Commissioner Hughes. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed say no. Passes 5-0. Moving on to the next one. Oh, they put writing. That should be an automatic. $105, and she is increasing her revenue and she's increasing her expenses, so it's money coming in. Restitution from an inmate. Do I have a motion to accept the amendment as presented? I have a motion from Commissioner Alford. I have a second from Commissioner Hughes. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Passes 5-0. Moving on to the next one, and there you see the check.
Same thing.
Yep, this is the same thing, same, except it's $44.22, so we're getting big money here. Do I have a motion to accept the amendment? I have a motion from Commissioner Hughes. I have a second from Commissioner Alford. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, say no. Passes 5-0. Moving on to the next budget amendment, and there you see the check. We're in Bradley County Sheriff's Office, and she is increasing revenue, increasing expenses. This is the one I called her about. For $1,495 even. Do I have a motion to accept the amendment as presented? I have a motion from Commissioner Slater. I have a second from Commissioner Alford. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Passes 5-0. And there's your documentation and a check. Sticking with the Bradley County Sheriff's Office, a
Yeah.
whole whopping $14.
The next several, 19 through 61, are all services if you want to do them together.
Service renders?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Yes. We'll take those up as a package. Everybody understand what we're doing on that? So there's none after that, right? So this finishes up the budget amendments?
That'll be all of them, right, yes.
Very good. All right. Do I have a motion to accept the amendments as presented? I have a motion from Commissioner Alford. I have a second from Commissioner Hughes. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Passes 5-0. That concludes the budget amendments. Moving on back to the agenda.
Don't forget the budget calendar, though.
Oh, well, I'm not. In fact, remind me that, Lori. Agenda item A, resolution approving policies and procedures related to the implementation of tax increment financing transactions that may be undertaken by the Industrial Development Board and of the County of Bradley and the City of Cleveland, Tennessee, pages 2 through 24. This was referred to us in the Finance Committee. So I open floor on any members wanting to discuss this.
I'll take it first.
Commissioner Collins?
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to acknowledge Mr. Barry here.
Yep.
He's been a great asset in helping me to kind of understand my, further my understanding of TIF. Before we move further in discussion, I do want to step back for just a moment and speak to the process. The tax increment financing policy and procedure document before us is not a routine item. It is a complex, multi-layered framework that has long-term fiscal implications for Bradley County, including impacts on future tax revenues, schools, infrastructure, and budget flexibility for decades to come. It's not simply an economic development document. It is a policy document that governs how public revenue may be pledged, allocated, and potentially diverted over extended periods of time. Because of that significance, I believe it is important that every commissioner has a meaningful opportunity to review this document in a transparent and methodical way, with the ability to ask detailed questions, suggest revisions, and consider additional protective language if needed. We have precedent for how we handle documents of this magnitude. When we revised the County Commission's own policies and procedures, that review was conducted in the Legal and Legislative Committee. It was done section by section. Language was examined carefully. Amendments were discussed openly. Commissioners were able to propose clarification and improvements before anything moved forward. That process, I believe, strengthened the final document. It gave commissioners confidence, and it demonstrated to the public that we were deliberate and transparent in our governance. The TIF policies and procedures document deserves that same level of review. This is not about slowing progress. It is about ensuring that when we act, we do so with clarity and full understanding. Given the complexities of increment allocations, term limits, amendment provisions, administrative authority, and long-term fiscal exposure, I believe through a segment-by-segment review, we should undertake this partaking. Our Legal and Legislative Committee review would do the following: provide structured time for detailed examination of each section, allow commissioners to ask legal and fiscal questions in an open setting, provide opportunity for proposed amendments or additional language, ensure alignment with county policy priorities and fiduciary responsibilities, and reinforce transparency for our citizens. This document will shape policy for years to come. It should receive the same level of scrutiny that we require of ourselves when reviewing our own governing policy. For those reasons, Mr. Chairman, I move that the tax increment financing policy and procedures document be referred to the Legal and Legislative Committee for a comprehensive review prior to further action. I put this in the form of a motion.
I have a motion from Commissioner Collins that you want to move this process to the legal and legislative, which you chair. So you'll take it, and Commissioner Hughes seconds it. So we'll get into debate. So I guess my you'll if this goes, then you'll set up the dates and times for the committee and stuff like. Before we do that, while we're in debate, I want to recognize Doug for a second. I want to just say thank you very much. Also, I sent in my questions, and you guys got back to me, well, I think in a day or two with very good answers and stuff like that. So I do want to say I appreciate that. I know sometimes I tend to ask overkill questions, but I figure, if I can get 2 good questions out of 10, that's probably a good thing. But I do want to say I appreciate that. That was good on you guys.
Well, I think both the questions that you and Commissioner Collins raised were worthwhile, and I hope they've been distributed to the other members of county committee.
They have, yeah. So,
we are a public body, and all of our actions are taken in a public forum also, and all of our debates occur in public. So
Yeah.
we want to make sure the record reflects that we operate under the sunshine laws just as your body.
Mr. Berry's been wonderful to me, and I've asked a lot of questions, and I try to, frame them in a context that dumbs it down for me, because I know it's a super high level, and I want to do that, and he's been awesome, and he's a great asset for us for sure.
Don't think that,
well, it's kind of new for you guys too, right? I mean,
oh yeah, we don't have any difficulties with answering any and all questions. That's why we've given you the documents and the white paper that helps explain it in a more generalized term and its applicability across the state of Tennessee. My participation in TIF agreements has never been at this level as an administrator, but I have in my past employment at the city of Knoxville been involved around TIF projects that were done not only for a specific building that already existed or also for designated areas. So I'm generally around the framework of that, but I've never served in the exact role that this is proposing our Industrial Development Board would do. So we have a lot of work to do ourselves.
yeah. There you go. So we have a motion and a second, and we're still in, I wouldn't say, I'm sorry.
So is there a timeline that you're looking for to have us approve this, Doug?
The board has asked me to present this to the county commission for consideration. That's all that we've asked at this point in time. I'm not a person that has been involved in any negotiations on any potential TIF projects beyond a general conversation about a development. I know that there are several conversations around, based on the comments I've heard, that are trying to focus in on negotiation points in a development agreement, and I cannot address anything related to that because I've not been a participant in any kind of negotiation for any project. What I can say to you is that I'm aware of 2 that have asked specifically about TIFs, and I can name 2 other areas in the community based on my career and professional experience that I would suspect would require all of us to sit down and contemplate a TIF-like agreement at some point in time. Number 1 is the Hardwick Farm, which, if, as I understand the conversation has been with the potential developer, that would be the largest single development proposed project in the history of this community. It's over 700 acres of land, and that is very complex from a standpoint of a developer. Keep in mind, I was in private real estate development before I came here, and I was the project manager for a 2,000-acre resort residential development in Sevier County that included conservation easements, transferable development credits, all kinds of dynamics. So it takes a lot of pieces to make those work financially.
Mm-hmm.
The second project is Exit 20 is gaining interest from commercial entities as a possible location. There are infrastructure shortfalls that will be necessary to be addressed at some point in time in order for those investments to occur, their minimum expectations. I have no timelines on any of these and no specific details about any of these. Just what you've read in the papers are the things that I'm aware of. The two sites that I believe professionally will potentially require us to address a TIF are the Whirlpool site in downtown Cleveland. And I think at some point in time, this community is going to have to come to terms with the mall and its future. If you're paying attention to real estate trends, malls are dying. They're shutting down. They're having to be repurposed. And with that comes a lot of embedded infrastructure and expense that oftentimes can't be picked up in lease rates and the elements that a private development will have to meet in order to secure their financing components. I do not know when or if that will happen, but if you ask me to look at where is this most viable, those would be the 4 locations I would suggest.
Commissioner?
Thank you, Doug. I appreciate that.
I would just follow up and say this, and this has been the most difficult part for me in trying to learn as much as I can about this and study and read. And I would encourage the other members of this body and other bodies to really to separate the two. The questions that I've had about TIF, I try to reflect back on to say, well, right now, as you've said, there are no applications.
No.
There's nothing out there other than conjecture. What's most important for our body is to set the default position in terms of policies and procedures without those conversations. Because I think sometimes if we don't do that, we can look over here and say, well, this is the property or this is the development or this is the application that we may consider. So let's generate policies and procedures that reflect what we want over here. And I don't know that that's a good position for us to be in. So I would encourage everybody to say, hey, let's look at policies and procedures as a separate outside of the conjecture that we're hearing. That's just my very basic opinion in a limited capacity. And I
agree with you 100%, but I do know that there have been conversations in both city and county around particular sites, and I just want you to understand where I see things as an individual and a professional that has been involved in economic and community development for 40 years now. So let's just put that on the table, but it is not appropriate to what we're trying to do here. This is a framework document that will live beyond my time with you. This is a document what will serve as a guide to one of your bodies that you created cooperatively with the City of Cleveland to negotiate incentive packages to stimulate the growth that we want as a community. It's a different twist to the pilot, which this community has been doing pilots since 1957, according to our records. A pilot provides a direct discount on a future property tax obligation that is never billed, so a company retains what would have been an expense line item. A TIF is different in that it collects the warranted taxes based on the tax rates, and it allocates a portion to a special designated fund to retire debt that meets public infrastructure definitions under Tennessee law for a specified period of time and an amount. So it's essentially creating a fund that money would be transferred to under the industrial board's direction with working with the City of Cleveland and Bradley County trustees and clerks that would then be distributed by the Industrial Development Board in compliance with a development agreement, which essentially stipulates what we're reimbursing as a community that meets the definitions that Tennessee law allows. So it only deals with the revenue that's been received The only thing that is ever allocated based on this document would be up to 80%. It does not dictate that 80% of the new tax revenue generated by the development in the TIF, it says up to 80%, because until you know exactly what needs to be done and whether it is warranted, you can't really determine what the percentage should be of that revenue stream. So it's a way for us to address what are traditionally public roles to stimulate an investment prior to the natural market forces allowing it to happen.
Thank you, Doug. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Pretty.
We have a motion and a second, still in discussion. I'm going to support your motion, Commissioner Collins. We learned, I think, not too long ago that sometimes when we go a little too fast, we come back and kind of regret. Maybe that's not the right word, but if we had it to do over again, we wouldn't have gone that fast. How's that? We just recently had a situation like that. Plus, this committee is getting ready to get into budget time. As you're getting ready to find out, we're getting ready to do the calendar and stuff, like meeting with elected officials and their requests, stuff like that. So I think it is the policy committee, and finance and budget committees getting ready for the 26-27 budget. So with that, I'll support the motion. Any other discussions, Commissioner Hughes, Commissioner Alford, Mayor, anybody? And I'm sure you'll set to get your committee meetings and stuff like that with Lori and publicize that. Anything else? Seeing none, you have the motion to refer this this resolution to the policy committee. We have a motion. We have a second. Any further discussion? And seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Passes 5-0. Commissioner Collins, if you'll get with Lori and get your schedule all put together, we'll refer the resolution to your committee. Mayor Davis?
Doug, while you're here, I've got a question that maybe you can answer as an outsider. Being in that wonderful political cycle we're in, I'm often told, why do you continue to take farmland to build subdivisions and industry? Do you ever know of Bradley County taking farmland to build any industry or subdivision in Bradley County?
I know that, well, Spring Branch used to be a farm that had not been farmed for over 20 years.
They voluntarily sold it, didn't they?
Huh?
And they voluntarily sold it, didn't they?
Yes.
Hardwick
Well,
Farms.
actually, that was sold. That was a forced sale to collect on an IRS debt.
And the more recent development talk is Hardwick Farms, a beautiful farm.
Yes,
Are
it
we
is.
forcing them to sell it, or are they wanting to sell it for development?
To my knowledge, the family has been working to sell the property and see it developed in an alternate use at least since I've been here, which
And
is 17
that's
years.
their right,
in May.
right? My
I
point
think
is, when
that's
someone
what we
sells,
traditionally hold
Yeah.
as an individual.
when someone sells a farm for a subdivision or a commercial development, it's because they wanted to sell it.
Yes, that is how it's worked in my career in
So
East
how do I
Tennessee.
answer the question? Why do you keep taking farmland for commercial or residential development? We don't.
No, that's private development. That is private enterprise taking the initiative on those things.
Thank you.
All right. That takes care of item A, and we'll go into other business. Any other? Commissioner Alford, please.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Just an idea that is floating around after our ad hoc meeting the other day on the turf situation. I'd like to make a proposal that we look into the concept of listening to them. The turf, understandable, lasts from 10 to 12 years. That's pretty standard, it says. And then the base would last from anywhere eternity, as far as I know. They've been in business more than 20-something years, and they've never had to replace a base. So what I'd like to do is look at the option of doing the turf as one, say, two projects maybe. One project would be purchasing the turf. The other project would be purchasing the base, separate, two separate loans, you might say. And if you look at it on that side of the coin, it would cut our expenses way down. And the mayor has on his grant we could do all the fields with the exception of Elrod Park and leave the Elrod Park open for his $1 million grant on the he wants to use for part of the turf. So my proposal would be, let's look at the financing side of it. I think if you looked at the turf only on a 10-year note, it would probably run us a little over $2 million, a little less than $2 million, I'm sorry. And if you did the base on a note, it would probably run us a little over $2.5 million or somewhere. So actually, we'd only end up borrowing probably around four or five, somewhere in that neighborhood, rather than 5. So with that, I hadn't concrete figures yet, but that's pretty close to what I'm talking about. So we wouldn't have to borrow that much more, a lot less than the 5 we talked about earlier. And it also leaves room at the end for the Elrod Park for the mayor to use his grant when we get it to build or finish it out. So what I would propose is that we go ahead and look at getting a loan, either intergovernmental loan or a bank loan at, somewhere, Mayor mentioned 3% the other day, so that's where I'm basing my figures on too. So at that price, I think overall, we'd say our payments wouldn't be but about $360-something thousand a year at the end of when we have to start paying it back, looking at those figures. So I'd like to put that in form of a motion to have the mayor look into that. And also, in the meantime, I've also talked with Crystal. She's negotiating with Mr. Cliff right now on the contract. So we're looking at getting the contract done fairly soon, too. And so I just want to move on this as much as we can, and I think we solved some of the problems with what Mayor was concerned about on the grant. Now that we can use that grant, we don't have to borrow as much money as we talked about earlier. We don't have to borrow as much because we can save $1 million for his grant and Elrod Park.
Okay.
So by not doing Elrod Park on the front end, but at the end of it, if we still have space and time and everything. So I'd like to put that in form of some kind of motion. Somebody may want to word it better than I do, but
It's your
I
motion.
think it would work financially. It works a lot better than what we talked about earlier. And again, I'll repeat, we're not going to use any tax money. We're going to use HCR money.
I'm going to get into that here in a second.
Okay. But I'll repeat again, no tax money will be used to finance the turf. I just think this is, if the trustee would go along on an intergovernment loan, I think he might even get better percentage or percent than if we went to a bank or something. But we wouldn't have to borrow anywhere near as much money as we talked about earlier, and our payments would be a lot less at the end of the year.
All right, that's a lot there. So, Mayor, did you get all that? But let me first, I'm glad you brought up the turf. We knew it was coming because you referred it from your ad hoc committee to finance the other day. If you don't mind, before you make your motion, I want to address the issue a little bit that I prepared here. I want to address the concern I've heard from members of our community. The belief that installing turf on our baseball fields and softball fields might take resources away from first responders or other essential county services. That concern is understandable, and it deserves a clear explanation. The funding being considered for turf can only, and I repeat, only come from 3 specified legal restricted sources. None of these funds come from property tax or sales tax, and none of them are available for general county operations. Number 1, HCI. HCI is governed by a court decree that is very specific about how the dollars may be used. Violating that decree is not an option, and it is simply not worth consequences that would follow. These funds are restricted for community projects and improvements. The decree is a public document and is available for anybody who wishes to review it. The hotel motel tax. This is paid primarily by people coming into Cleveland and Bradley County from out of town. These dollars support tourism, recreation, and community amenities. Grants, as the Commissioner Alford just referred to. Grants represent a grant representative attended a commission meeting a few weeks ago to discuss the availability of grant opportunities, and the mayor's office has already begun the application process. Grant dollars come with strict rules about how they can be spent. To be clear, no property tax, no sales tax dollars will be used for turf on this project. The project does not reduce funding for first responders or essential county services. Our first responders remain a top priority, and nothing about this project changes that. The discussion about turf is limited to funds that are legally restricted to specified purposes and cannot be used to hire deputies, buy ambulances, or support general county operations. However, it is worth noting that improving the facilities that can have a positive economic impact. We have solid data showing that a number of games and tournaments have been played that could be played on turf that simply could not be played on dirt fields. Right now, even a 20, 30-minute rain shower can shut our fields down for 2 to 3 days while they dry out and are brought back to playable conditions. Turf dramatically reduces that downtime, which means more events can be moved forward, more visitors come into Bradley County, and that increased activity helps generate sales tax. And sales tax is one of the revenue streams that supports our first responders and essential services. I appreciate very much everyone who has reached out with questions. Transparency does matter. Repeat that. Transparency does matter, and I will continue to provide clear information as we evaluate this project and other projects before the commission. I just wanted to say that because I think it's been mentioned on social medias and stuff like that. And I think that pretty much explains our position, this committee, the full commission, the mayor's office on that. So from anyone who basically says anything other than that, after knowing the facts, they're doing it on their own. So I just want to get that out there. We do have a motion on basically a different one. We'll get into discussion once we have a second on it. We have a second on the Commissioner Alford's motion. We have a second. We have you, Commissioner Collins.
Well, can we clarify the motion? Lori, do you care to clarify that?
I was gonna.
No, that would be the start of it anyway.
Well, at its core, it's a request to the mayor's office.
Oh, you may want to add in that motion that we would stop, if we did this, move Elrod Park to the last field that we do so that we can pay for the mayor's part of the grant with his grant of $1 million. Therefore, we would keep his $1 million in the process and paying for it. We'd have to borrow less money.
I'll second the motion.
We have a second from Commissioner Collins. Now we're going to. So, Andy, Menace Road, if I understand this correctly, would be the last because we'll wait for a grant to fund that project. I don't have a breakdown of how each park, how much they cost to get the turf on it, but it's not as big as Herb, but it's not as small as Blue Springs.
It's only 4 fields. It's larger infields. It was it's bunched in with the quote with the Urbane Park. We'd have to get exactly what it would cost. But as far as timeline wise, it doesn't affect what we were trying to do. However we cut it up, it would probably fall as the last part regardless. So
thank you. So it doesn't really hurt things if you put it towards the end and wait for the grant money. Mayor, on the grant money, I'm assuming that we're in the process of going through that, and it'll take its course. And the money that will be used for turf, if just to cover everything, if it doesn't come in, the grants like after further review, we don't get the grants. What I'm saying, then we'll have it come back and secure funding for Menace Road. But I guess we'll cross that bridge when we get there, but at least we'll have something on that. Please.
Can't remember all the points. First of all, it's the taxpayer's grant. It's not $1 million. Two grants, 1.5 million, but they're not 100%. When the things rock on, and I look over at Cindy, I don't know where we're going to get the match from, and I can't swear it won't be out of tax money. But there will be a match. The way a grant works, if something costs 1.2 million, you pay your match first, and then they finish it. So there is some money outside of the grant. Like Andy said, I don't know how much that park by itself costs because the price that we were given was for Urbane and Menace Road. In my opinion, the grant's very important because that helps the taxpayers of Bradley County not pay for as much, no matter what pot you're taking it out of. But an interesting thing on the borrowing, and I'm not saying we can't do it. Normally borrowing is left up to me, but when you go buy a truck, and that truck costs $40,000, how long can you get the loan for? Someone tell me. Well, okay. I'll make up some numbers. That frame probably lasts 30 years. The tires probably last 4 years. You don't get a loan to buy the tires and another loan to buy the frame. I'm sorry. Go to the bank. Tell them you want a loan on a brand new truck, and they will not break it down like that. What's being proposed is that we do two loans, one for the carpet and one for the rock. Rock lasts longer than carpet, so we can get different terms. And this all stems from you can only borrow the life of the value of the product you're borrowing for. So yes, rock lasts a lot longer, but that bank will not give you two loans, one for the frame and one for the tires. It's an exaggerated comparison, but it's a true comparison. The comptroller, I'm sure, said, yeah, we can do that. The comptroller's not who we get our advice from. They're the ones that look to see if we did it right. The financial advisor says if you're borrowing money to put turf on the fields, you don't go longer than 12 years. That's our advisors. That's our financial advisors. They're a lot smarter than me. And I don't think you'll get a bank to grow longer than that 7 years on that truck, even though no one knows how long you can go. It's approximately 6 to 7 years. But I've got a 30-year-old truck, and many parts of that truck are still running. But I didn't get longer than the 7-year loan when I bought the truck because it won't happen. This can happen. You got two loans. You do one for 12 years. You do one for 20 years. First of all, you got the cost of two loans. And then you're going to come back and you're going to try to pay for the last field out of a grant that's not full. It's got to be matched. And I don't know where we'll be with the dollars at that point. The only thing that changed at the end of the day is Urbane Road got done in calendar year 26, and my timeline gets it done in summer of 27. 1 year from now, I can brag about every ball field in this county being turfed or being worked on as we speak. 1 year from now. And we do the financing the normal way. We've used the grants the normal way. I don't see what that timeline, 6 to 8 month difference, why that's such a big deal. At election time, if it's about elections, one field's getting turfed before the election. The other fields are getting turfed before the general election. And the other field's getting turfed next year. In 1 year, Andy has every field turfed, or a little over a year, summer of 27. Instead of trying to borrow money for the tires and borrow money for the frame. I don't think you'll find anybody that's ever bought a truck like that, folks. I'm sorry. I'm supposed to handle the financing, and I'm going to be going back to the financial advisor saying, guys, can you agree that we should get two loans for that truck, one for the tires and one for the frame? I can't imagine what he might say. But that's where I'm at in all this. Thank you.
Commissioner Alford and Commissioner Collins.
Go ahead, Mr. Collins.
Oh, okay. Mayor, I heard you say this to the students, and I thought it really resonated with me that a lot of times, in particular cases, you would care for us to approve the project and then allow you to handle the timing? Is this one of those situations that you would say, hey, I can work this project out, just let me deal with the timing?
And that's been done many, many times. A good example, this commission approved building Parkview Elementary School in whatever year that was. I didn't borrow the money for a year later because they didn't tell me how much. They told me how much they approved for the project, but they didn't tell me when to borrow, where to borrow, or anything like that. They left that to me. They approved the project. A year later, I borrowed the money. The timeline is the only thing in question here. Is there's two different timelines, and I understand that. But to tell me to go borrow money for the tires and money for the frame, just to change the timeline a little bit, it's unreal. But anyway, whatever you all decide, I will try my best to do it. I always have. But usually, and I don't never pull that card, Mr. Collins, usually you approve the projects and the amount you're willing to spend and tell me to work out the financing and so forth. I'm on a timeline with schools right now. If you approve building 3 new schools next Monday, my agreement with Dr. Cash is a timeline that's in place, and it won't happen next Monday. You follow me? That's not when we can afford to do it. You may approve it next Monday, but it's not going to happen then. And Parkview didn't happen then. This is very similar. It's all about timelines, which I don't know why those timelines are so important. I know we want them all turfed. I'm glad you explained the money on turfing because, yeah, I'm getting attacked because they say you're spending money that could go for fire, spending it for turf, which is totally wrong. I'm glad you corrected it instead of me. But let's stop and think about the timeline. Man, we will be getting 1 field, 2 fields, 3 fields, 4 fields, let's see, about 5 fields done almost immediately. And then we'll come back and do the others within the next year. We've rocked on all these years without turf. What's 1 year? And mainly the only reason that I have that timeline is I think it's worth it to save the taxpayers $1.5 million if it's approved. And they say there's a good chance it'll be approved. It's how we built Eureka Ballpark. The commission approved applying for the grant. They approved buying the park. And the rest of it was left up to me to happen, and we've got a beautiful park.
Thank you, Mayor.
Mr. Alford.
Well, a couple of things there. I don't know where the timeline, we keep talking about the timeline. I don't understand quite the timeline. We're still going to have to borrow the same amount of money regardless when we do it. And so we can set on it. But I really question the concept of a truck. I haven't ever bought a new truck in my life, and I've never paid down on anything. But we're talking about turf against, listening to them the other day, they've never had to replace a base on a turf. And you may have to replace a chassis on a truck sometime or another. I don't know. Don't know that much about it, or a motor or something. But if you never have to, from what they say, and they've been in business since early 2000, I think they said, and the turf will only last 10 to 12 years, and with an 8-year guarantee. So, you know, we can put it off and keep putting it off, slow it down. But any way you cut it, we're still going to spend the same amount of money. As far as the HCI money, I'm just looking at a way we can borrow money cheaper by doing it 2 ways, borrowing two different loans. It's cheaper for us to do it that way because we're saving quite a bit of money. If you put the figures to it, if you go with a 10-year, some of you guys is smart, Caleb maybe, put a 10-year loan at 3%, it's cut your payment way down. And the same way if you do a $3 million at 20 years, it's going to cut it. So in the long run, I look at it saving money from HCI. It saves a lot of HCI money. What it's going to do, save a whole bunch of HCI money. If you don't put a pencil to it, go back and look and see. Anyway we cut it, we're still going to have to spend the same amount of money, whether it's $4 million or $5 million. And the mayor talks about his loan. I'm not real up on it or how long that's going to be. It may be a year before we get grants. on that loan. But this is a way that we can do the Menace Road last, and hopefully that the grant has come through by then. And then, in the meantime, we've got, I forget, if you look at your project chart, it's end of July, probably. I think the end of July, they could have had all the fields. So we're looking at extending it probably a little further out than that if we wait around. So, we can do it now, or we can wait another year and let 1,200 kids play in the mud a year. So it's very simple concept. And
First of all, I didn't say wait a year. I said get started
Mayor,
tomorrow. You could
look-
approve this project 2 months ago if you were in
Mayor,
that big of a hurry.
Mayor,
But I did not say wait.
I
Start it
know.
as soon as you want to. We've got many fields to build before we get to that one
that's my point, Mayor. We can go ahead and get started
with
and
my
pay
time.
for it on the way.
all right, stop it. So, Mayor, a couple of things on this. Even if we went with the timeline and, with the original timeline, we'll call it your timeline, but whatever. The idea of getting part of the asset, because like you said, it's about how the life of the asset. The one we just did was a 20-year asset, and that was approved. If part of it can be done in a 20-year time frame and the other part can be 10, I don't see any problem with that piece of it. The timeline, obviously, on that, I get your concern on that, but that's just good, smart financing, Mayor. If I may be missing something, I get your analogy, but if part of the project, can be split out, that this is the life, and it can be done 20 years, and everybody who's involved agrees to it, and part of it is a 10-year because the life of it, so be it. But in the essence, the motion is this, Mayor. It's just a request to you. I think we know how you feel about it now, but I think that's the wording of the motion, right? Is just to see it. But one way or the other, members and Mayor, is if we want to get started, I wouldn't say we're behind already, but here we are, mid-February, and we won't meet again until the first Monday of March if it's coming through finance, and then it's got to go to the full commission. Hopefully, let's set a time that, Mayor, you have something before this commission, this committee on the first Monday of February, March 2nd, of where you would like to go with this, and we'll vote that up or down and move forward. That way we can get stuff going, because momentum brings momentum, right? So you have Commissioner Alford's idea, and it is an idea. And we'll leave like you said, the financing and the implementation of it. Once you get all the approvals, you need to go forward. Does that sound like a compromise, Mayor? You tell me. I mean, I think you want this as well. I don't think you've been against it at all, 1 second, so.
Again, if you told
No.
me to go buy a new truck, I wouldn't get 2 loans on that truck. You're telling, you approve the money, tell me you want a new truck, I go get it. And I can tell you, there ain't nobody in Bradley County ever got 2 loans to buy that truck.
I don't want a truck.
No, you're wanting rock and carpet. Same difference.
Does that sound like a plan, Mayor, that you'll come back on March 2nd with a plan? All right. Go ahead, Mayor, not Mayor, Commissioner
No,
Alford.
thank you.
Yeah.
Don't want to be either. Just another point I forgot to mention a minute ago, where you're talking to the trustee. The comptroller is asked to do a letter, and I've asked Mr. Cliff to do 2 letters, one for the turf and one for the base, coming from the comptroller. And the comptroller, if he agrees to my concept, and which, according to Trustee Smith, he thinks that the comptroller will go along with that idea of 10 years and 20 years. I want to do 2 projects. So if he'd go along with the idea, then I think, that would be very beneficial to us if the comptroller decides to do it, because we can borrow on the intergovernment loan at a lower interest rate and not have to pay it back for a whole year and not have to worry about it too much. Thank you.
So
If I
let
could
me,
add this, I said at the last meeting, I had come up with the best rate being the intergovernmental loan. That's not a question. I've done my homework. Mike Smith will be the loaning agent,
right.
so we can forget that part of it. It's only the timeline that's still in question. Because of the amount of money And the short time that they said that we could borrow on, everyone has agreed the intergovernmental loan is the way to go. And it will be, everybody talks to them on their own, can't take my word for it, so I'll give you a ballpark number. It'll be anywhere from 2.8 to 3. Somebody may have talked to them and they got a 2.7. I don't know. But again, there's too many people doing everybody's job. But the last time I talked, and by the way, that changes monthly. That was January when I talked to them, so I don't know what the number is in February, but at that time, it was about 2.9 intergovernmental loan.
Mr. Collins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And not to belabor the point, I just want to
No,
share.
we're good.
Yeah,
Please,
not
fine.
to share, not to, be Solomon here and split the baby, but I think there is, credence to the mayor's timeline in the sense that not only do we have to think about just the practicality of working on ball fields, right? How you do those and how you manage that during ball season. I think we also need to look at what's going to be in 10 years down the road in a maintenance package when it may be a new commission, it may be a new mayor, whatever. But the fields are 10, 12-year packages. And what we don't want to do, or at least personally, I don't think you want to be back in a situation where you're having to refinance and refund a maintenance package on 22 fields. I think having spacing that out in some degree will allow us at least a general time to divide up the maintenance of those fields. So I think the financing piece is, as you said, Chairman Blake, it's a great idea to work the finance to our best interest. But I also think the timing element, as the mayor is saying, provides some legitimate, there's some positives to that, not just now, but in the future as well. That's my 2 cents. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Slater. Y'all were here. So basically, we have a motion to request that the mayor take this idea, we'll call it that, Commissioner Alford, into consideration. And I've asked him to basically at the next finance, in fact, if you'll go ahead and put that as an agenda item, the mayor's presentation on how we're going to go forth. We'll vote it up and down on that day, and we'll start getting movement, because that's what I'm interested in is, the other day when the gentleman was here, they've already done the site work. They didn't, they went and visited our ball fields and stuff like that. They've worked with you. I'm looking at Andy on that. I may not like the order of the fields. I don't always get what I want. Imagine that. But the main thing, Mayor, you make an excellent point, believe it or not. By this time next year, February of 2027, March of 27, we should have all Bradley County at turf and boys and girls playing when it rains for 20 or 30 minutes. So,
Or in the works.
yeah.
If I
So,
could, Mr. Chairman,
yeah.
Andy, tell him to redo his proposal, put Eureka, Blue Springs, I'm sure he's told somebody he can do this, but I don't have it. Eureka, Blue Springs, and Urbane Road in one proposal with a price, and put Menace Road in another proposal and a price and his projected timeline. Because I do not have that yet to come up with a proposal for them. So please ask for that and make sure he sends it to me. Thank you.
Commissioner Hughes, please.
Just for a question, we've got the mayor bringing a proposal to us on the March 1st meeting, correct?
March 2nd, yeah.
March 2nd. I really want to see what he has to show us or tell us before I just
Well,
vote.
all we're doing on this motion is requesting this, really.
Yeah.
So it's, you could, yeah. Anyway, there's nothing else. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Pass by. So,
No.
oh, sorry.
2 no's.
2 noes on requesting the mayor to bring a proposal. So Commissioner Hughes and Commissioner Slater say no.
Not on the proposal. It's
Okay, Lori, will you
Okay.
read the motion so we know what we're voting on? Goodness. So, and the reason I support it is it's an ask. The mayor can come back and say, and I'm not going to speak for the mayor. He can do that for himself.
The motion is to request the
Yeah,
mayor to do
If
homework.
we were to say, you better do it, you know, by God, that
understand.
would be different, but.
No
um,
problem, we'll do our best, once I
yeah.
get that from Andy.
But I
and
like ideas. I mean, Commissioner Arthur had an idea. I mean,
Then,
so-
when I get the information from him, I'll go back to the financial advisors and get their suggestion of how to move forward. I will not be going to the comptroller. The comptroller signs off on what we propose. They don't do our proposal.
he's busy
And I'll give you
anyway.
an example of that. I had millions of dollars in a fund balance one year. I wanted to pay cash for a school project. Back then, I was green. I said, comptroller, can we do that? And they said, no. They said, you got to borrow money. So I went across the street and I borrowed money for 30 days, paid it off. And when they saw what I'd done, the next year they said, oh, yeah, you can do that. They're not the people that come up with the ideas. They're the ones that sign off on what you send to them. It does have to have state approval, you're right. But a loan with trustee is already, we've done that 4 times, so that won't be a problem. That's their only involvement.
That's true. He has to basically agree to the interfund loan because of the tax pieces on it. That's all right. So we've already voted 3-2, and we'll send that over to the mayor's office. Moving on. Anything else? No. Good. Any other business? Commissioner Hughes, Commissioner Offer, Commissioner Collins, Commissioner Slater.
We're going to do the calendar? Okay.
Budget calendar. Oh, yeah. How could I forget that? Budget calendar. I think it's on the very last page. That lets you know it's that time again, where we start the budget process. The very first thing we do is the budget calendar. Where's it at? Or we,
I noticed that some of the wannabes around got all the information they could stand and left.
oh, Mayor. All right. Stay focused.
Maybe they're watching.
All right. The budget calendar follows, and this is going to be interesting as well. It follows the pretty much the template that we've been using for the last, at least 4 or 5 years, Mayor. I think you make a.
Yeah, the only difference was
Okay.
to meet the new year. Now, right at the end, there's a little bit of tweaking because of the fact that the newspaper is now twice. That one's going to be tough, but
Well,
this is what we think will work.
bear with me, Caleb. On the things that we require the offices to, we in the past, back when we moved to the hybrid plan on retirement, I asked that the information on when they were hired, and that way I could tell whether or not they were pre-2016. I think the date was October 1, 2016, when they moved over to the hybrid plan or had to. I think we're good with that. If they on that, really, I just want to know who is hybrid and who is legacy on the retirement, so I can calculate the savings on that. But if they provide the higher date, fine, but it's not a requirement, I don't think anymore. Since 2016, now here we're in 26, that's 10 years into the hybrid plan. On that. So you put together that package, right?
So you saying you want to take the higher date taken off?
I don't need it. I mean, whether they're hybrid or not is in there, so.
Back then, we tried to figure it budget-wise, and it was an
And I was
issue.
the first couple of years, I was able to determine how much we were saving by going to the hybrid plan and stuff like that. But I've had a couple ask me, "Do we still need to give you the higher date?" And I told them the reason I was doing it, I was calculate who was in there, their salary, and all the numbers and stuff. 10 years into the hybrid plan, it's not needed anymore.
Okay. We'll take that request off. He's talking about the sheets that we pass out to the departments at
Yeah.
the
And there's,
budget meeting.
while we're talking about if there's anything that we do want on there, this is now the time to ask that to be put in there. Is if there's any information you want from an elected official, the department head to help you with budget process, this is the time to ask for it.
I went through it this morning, and I didn't propose changing anything. We made a couple of grammatical corrections and emphasized a couple of things that don't get followed like they're supposed to, but I think everything is in there. But if you
Yeah.
all have something else you want to add.
It's still in there, those who have left, who exited Bradley County, and if they know why, they put that in there. That's
Right.
very, very good info to have when we're deciding on some things. But I don't have any, other than what I just told you is all I have, but Commissioner Hughes, Commissioner Alford, Commissioner Collins, Commissioner Slater. All right, so we're good on the budget packet request. Looking at the budget calendar, the fun part comes on our part, the first week of June. Mayor, we've talked about this in the past. Your proposal comes to the full commission on that Monday, which is, I don't have my calendar, June 1st. County mayor presents budget to the full commission at 7 p.m. Then final budget amendments to the finance committee electronically on that Wednesday at 4:30, which we might as well go ahead and say 11 o'clock sometime. But then on Thursday, the finance committee meets and goes over there. Mayor, I just firmly believe we need more time between your proposal and that Thursday. I know how you feel, but I just have to say it, that we need more time. And I know the ramifications of that in the sense that it will prolong the budget resolutions, because right now we have it on June 20. June 29th. And that's, the June 29th. So I would like to move that, and we have a member that's not going to be here. It's very important that we're all here. This is going to be a tough budget. You know it, and we know it. We don't know the growth numbers yet, but I think the finance committee, as well as the full commission, needs more time, especially if we're going to make any big changes. So I open up the floor to see what Commissioner Hughes, Commissioner Alford, Commissioner Collins, Commissioner Slater think, but that's my 2 cents, that we prolong the finance committee take the mayor's proposal, and we meet on June 12th. Thoughts, comments? Huh? Lori, it is a Friday. You're okay with that? Yeah.
From the 4th to the 12th. So when do you want the preliminary budget distributed then? You gotta change the rest of those dates.
Yeah, I know, we're gonna have to work it out. Let me get my calendar. Can't get my calendar up. And that's a voting session? Yeah. And because normally we have a work session. Could we, when that puts you guys, I know, in a tough spot. Because if we do anything on the 12th, you've got to go and make changes. This is, I know I'm changing things, Mayor, and the 15th is a voting, but just because it's a voting session doesn't mean we have to vote on it. We can kind of use that to introduce the changes, and then, kind of a quasi meeting. Some of it is, not everything we bring to a voting session we vote on that day. I'll say, here's the finance committee's proposal or recommendation, and put it on the calendar for 29th. I guess the issue then is the newspaper piece, or
Well, back up when you're gonna hear appeals.
appeals. Yes.
That's an important one.
Yeah. On the, on the 22nd? Does that work?
You're gonna get the preliminary budget. You're gonna make the changes the 12th, get it to the full commission on the 15th. A week later, hear appeals. When are you gonna do what's on 15 right now, the budget amendments and so forth? You can still do those on the 15th?
Those are the amendments from the current budget.
Yeah.
Right, that actually gives you more time to get those, because correct me if I'm wrong, in the past, you've had amendments come in after that Wednesday, right?
Yeah.
So this gives you a little bit more time on that.
It's still the 15th.
Yeah.
That's where they're at now.
Oh, okay.
Um,
But you don't have to have them to us on that Wednesday, is what I'm saying.
it's
But
gonna-
those,
It's gonna, let's go through it. You're gonna meet on the 12th.
Mayor, I'm sorry, let me interrupt. Would it help also with the end of the year, because we're talking about the current budget amendments that you're trying to wrap up. Would it help, I'm just asking, that those get voted on the same day we do the budget resolution? I want to give you as much time as you need on the end of your, because they come in, I know you have budget amendments that come in after that Wednesday.
Mayor, are we gonna do the second round of final amendments again?
And we voted on those on
I
that
don't know
day.
when we can.
If we do 2 rounds, it doesn't really make.
It
a
doesn't really matter.
difference.
Okay. Whatever I can do to help you guys. You guys are helping
See,
me.
the
So
15th is over, and what we'd saved last year was 29th becomes a voting meeting, and that is to approve the budget and any last-minute amendments to take care of audit. So that would still be there. County Commission votes to approve 26-27 budget documents, set the new tax rate. It should say, and approved last-minute amendments, right? That's on the 29th.
and if the chairman Cry is allowed to move the full commission meetings as he sees fit as well.
That works out for me because whatever I miss in the first round, I can catch on the second.
Yeah. And you get some. I mean, it's just the nature of what going on. I think what was a grant one amendment that you had last year.
Yeah, and there's a couple of salary lines too that have to be in budget.
Yeah. So we'll satisfy that requirement and get those done so that you're done with that piece of it. So appeals can be done, Mayor, to answer your question on appeals, can be done on, I lost my calendar,
The 15th or the 22nd?
22nd.
Okay. So you're gonna make your changes the 12th. It's gonna go to the full commission on the 15th with budget amendments and the preliminary. The 22nd, you're gonna hear appeals. Back on the 15th, you also are gonna schedule the 29th as a voting meeting. Follow me?
Yeah.
Because you're adding a voting meeting on the 29th, just like you've been doing. Then on the 22nd, we hear appeals. You're going to be, when are you, let's say someone, I'm playing devil's advocate.
Sure.
Let's
Somebody,
say somebody came to you with an
and
appeal that you wanted to agree to. When are you going to agree to it?
we would have to agree to it on the 29th. Or,
Which is the day you approve the budget.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the calendar changed it to a
Yeah.
Monday. That's the reason.
Lori, yeah, I know you had to ask Crystal this probably, but can we change I'm just asking, I promise, don't. But can we have 2 voting sessions in a row? Or can we just say on the 22nd for the sole purpose of approving or disapproving appeals that day? I mean, it's our, Chairman Cry's prerogative. I mean, I've seen it done. Where, in other words, it is right now on the calendar with plenty of notice to the citizens that on that day, we are going to have a work session, which is scheduled, but even if you call it a special call, voting session for the sole purpose of addressing any appeals that the commission wants to take up. Because you're right, Mayor, you have to assume that somebody will appeal.
They haven't recently, but
Yeah,
they
even though
could.
we've done a good job,
Mhm.
because by then we have talked our ears off. I mean, but we did have what, 4 years ago, we had 4 appeals that day. I'm asking, are we allowed to do
It
that?
sounds like you're having the appeals during a work session, and maybe
And then,
put a notice out that if needed, a special call meeting.
Lori, will
you-
you ask Crystal if we're allowed to do that? I know it's getting crazy, but that satisfies that. If, in other words, we adjourn the work session and then call to order a voting session for the sole purpose of, I mean, Athens did it. Not that I want to replicate Athens. Please.
Position of the chairman is that state law requires the budget be approved.
And this gets that done.
That's what will be done as far as I'm concerned. How
But
all this preferential stuff goes is up to the finance committee and
according to this, even if you make it a voting meeting on the 22nd, you're hearing appeals and approving them. I can't go to the newspaper on the 17th like originally planned. I have to go to the newspaper, gosh, Monday's the 22nd. If I took it straight to them, it'd be printed the 24th. So you can't approve it for 10 days after that. So there's no way it can be approved on the 29th. Yes. Right now, I've got it the 17th, and you're voting the 29th, but it sounds like you pushed changes up to the 22nd, so that means, like I said, the 24th is the very earliest I can get it in the newspaper, and 10 days would be roughly July the 4th.
How can we solve that problem?
I don't know what the commission will decide, but I personally am not in favor of going past what the state law says. I know we've done that in the past, but we made the decision to not do it anymore, and that seems to me to be logical. I don't understand. I don't think we changed the date last year, and the budget worked out all right.
Did it?
I don't think the commission members had any problems with the time frame they had. Maybe they did, but it was that all should be arranged prior to the budget calendar starting. Make those decisions at that time, but we didn't do it. So now let's comply with the law.
Can I offer a compromise suggestion here? And it wouldn't change all those other dates. It just buys you one day, but instead of Thursday the 4th, do it Friday the 5th, give you another day. And then we've got to get all those changes plugged in into the commission on Monday, and that would leave everything else on schedule. So I present on the 1st, and you make changes on the 5th. I'm just asking, does that work? Because that doesn't mess the calendar up if it does.
You're saying the
No.
approval date of the budget, we approved the budget in June, right?
Yeah, if finance will agree to move their review date to the 5th, one day longer, that gives them Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and half a day Friday to look through it. And if they will meet and make their changes on Friday, then those other dates won't change and we'd still be approving the budget on the 29th.
That's me, that's up to the finance chairman and committee. My concern is that it be approved by the county commission last bid.
Does the 5th not work for finance?
Now, so the only, this is even, the only other thing is, well, there's two ideas, and they are just that. One, when you go to the paper with what, obviously it'll be pre-appeals in hope, but if there is anything in the appeals, then you're allowed to basically revise that. So in other words, you satisfied the putting the budget out there in the paper and meeting that requirement. And if there's any change, because when you go to the newspaper, basically you have the funds and how much revenue, how much expenses and stuff like that. But if there's a change that significantly alters that, then you can just do a, what do you call it, rebuttal or revised, something like that. It's an idea, Mayor, that's all. I mean, in other words, meet to satisfy, and then see what happens with appeals, and then adjust. What do you think?
I didn't follow you date-wise, but
Oh.
I understand the thinking at least.
Okay.
But if you made your changes on the 5th, changes that you did know of, and this has happened before, the budget gets approved, you come back your first meeting in July and amend it the way that the majority of you wanted. That's perfectly kosher.
I mean, we made changes on resolution day once. But
You can't, I think it was discussed, you can't change it once, you can't change the total numbers once I go to the
no,
newspaper.
we didn't. We just moved money from 189 that day.
But, you know, if Friday the 5th don't make you happy, how about Sunday the 7th? Well, that's a week to study a budget that is balanced. All the hard work's been done, just a question of whether every people's promises have been met.
No, it's not that, Mayor. It's I'd like to have all members of finance here.
Well, all members of finance have known what last year's calendar was for a year. And the only thing that's changed is
Mayor.
the daggum New Year calendar. So they should, I do my vacation accordingly, they can too.
All right, so the other option is to move some things around in May. When do you have your revenue? Let's see, school budget hearings on the 11th. That doesn't need to change. Last finance before amendments on the 29th.
Revenue projections.
Well, I guess this is just, you have your proposal to the full commission on the first Monday. Is there any possibility of moving that up? When do-
I won't say, I don't, I'm looking at all the possible scenarios there. 1 week, it's gotta be, it could be 1 week earlier. What's 1 week before June the 1st? May
Yeah.
the 25th, Memorial Day.
No.
I'll
Okay,
try
let
to
me
do
ask you a
whatever you
question. Are you
say.
familiar with Chairman Cryer referred to a state law that says we have to have this done by the end of June. It's best and legal are two different things, right? Because 55 other counties instead of Tennessee get it done. And years past, we did it all the way up to July 7th.
That's true, but if you're calling them to get advice on loans, call them and ask them when a budget's supposed to be approved.
Touche, touche. We got you. I'm not going to apologize for asking for more time, Mayor. I just think this is
Well,
going
I've
to be.
come up with a day more.
This will be the toughest
I'll
budget.
come up with 3 days more,
Yeah. So the Friday,
or Sunday.
well, July 5th gives us that extra day. I'll take you up on that.
And you'll have more people gone then than you do that week that somebody's worried about.
So, all right. So July 4th, Finance Committee meets to review county mayor budget. Will be changed to July 5th, same time, 10 a.m. Other than that, we can keep it all the same.
But what did we change? I'm sorry. Repeat what you changed there.
Instead of July 4th,
June 4th.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I got July on the brain. Sorry. I'm already. June 4th will be changed to June 5th.
Now that does work, and that does give you one more day.
We did it one year. We did
Yeah.
We did it one. That
Now, the only
Friday.
problem there is if it's major changes, having it ready by noon on Monday will be tough, but other than that, that's
But-
not a problem.
As you've mentioned in years past, usually by the time we get there, we have talked and
Right,
talked and talked, and you guys know what's coming.
right. I mean, I've heard requests and I've addressed 99% of them, and usually there's not a problem at this point. Other than I know you need time to study, but usually all the concerns are addressed.
Usually.
If you want to change to the 5th, I don't think that changes anything
It
down
doesn't.
through there. Another
doesn't.
option you could have is no law says you have to have appeals. City don't. That's a major ordeal with us, but it's up to you too.
Well, that's an interesting thing is I thought about this, and this is out there, is why can't we, once we get your proposal and once finance makes any changes, right after that, well, no, you got to let the elected, I was going to say that day, but, Sheriff Lawson won't know to appeal right after a mega meeting. So that's the
Sure.
only day we need to change is the June 4th.
So we're going to change June 4th Thursday to June 5th Friday.
Yeah.
Is that agreeable with everybody? Is it? Well, you will be here when the preliminary comes from them to the full, and then there will be another voting meeting that would give you an opportunity to make a change. Would that work? You know what I'm saying? The only difference is, Ms. Slater, I tend to want to call you Cindy. The only difference would be, let's say you had a major change that you really wanted to change. On the 5th, you could have done it with 3 votes, and by waiting till the 15th, you're going to have 8. But other than that, in other words, full commission has that last opportunity to make changes. It's a little bit harder, but you know what I'm saying.
A little harder.
Well, it's a little harder to get 8 votes than 3, I'll admit, but yeah. But it's not like you don't have, it's one of those things, heck, I started to say something similar to that, Cindy, when I was on the commission. It was 13-1 every now and then, but yeah, but at least you made your point. You will have an opportunity to make your point. Whether you're successful or not, the odds are against you at that point. But I'm just making light of it. But does that work? Sure enough. That way, we're only changing one thing on the calendar, and it don't change those dates. Please understand the way it works now. The banner worked with me last year, and I think they will again. But you guys have that last minute opportunity for change on the 15th. Now, granted, it takes 8 votes that day, so it's a little harder, but hypothetically, you could. I've got to get it changed and to the banner that day. That's scary on my part, but that's not our fault. That's because of the way things have changed over there. So that day, I'm ready to go with it. If you make changes, then we've got to quickly make them and run with it in order for it to be in the Wednesday paper. And it has to be in the Wednesday paper to be approved in June. So I didn't make those dates up, I promise you. Okay? So that one change, you need to go ahead and approve it, I guess. And
So we're gonna make a change on the budget calendar. Finance will meet on June the 5th instead of June the 4th. Same time, 10 a.m. Unless you guys want to start this a little earlier, around
it's up to you all.
9. I mean, we could, it could be a 8-hour meeting that day. You all right with 9 o'clock? You're here. Larry, you okay with 9? I mean,
Yeah, that's fine.
you don't care. You do care, and we appreciate your caring so much. So we'll make those two changes on the budget. Everybody know what we're voting on the budget calendar, and we'll have this on the agenda for finance. I'm sorry, for the full commission to vote the calendar in as well. And then we're all on the same sheet of music. I have a motion to accept the budget calendar with that change from Commissioner Hughes. I have a second from Commissioner Collins. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Those say no. Passes 4 with 1 absent. Mayor, I think that's it on the agenda. Is there anything else come before this committee? At this time, if there's anyone in the audience, Ellen, this is your chance. But we'll see you in March, right? With a Hopewell update. I know you. Going over here, I want to make sure I got everything. Yeah.